Wayne Patterson in for Hugh Hewitt this week. We have joining us on the phone line is Josh Kraushaar, senior political correspondent over at AXIOS.com. And Josh, good morning. Good to have you here. I want to cover the 2024 conventional wisdom rematch. If you want to couch it as a conventional wisdom, the odds are that it's going to be a Trump versus Biden rematch in 2024, a rematch that almost certainly nobody in the country really truly wants, right? So I want to cover this by covering both parties. You had a piece on the Republican side that you did with Mike Allen from late last week, the 5 angles of attack that Donald Trump are going to use against Ron DeSantis in the coming weeks and months. Can you outline quickly what those 5 are? And then more importantly, which one of those 5, if any, do you think will actually stick? Yeah,
so first off, Dwayne, it's good to talk to you on air after talking to you
absolutely
for so many years. Look, this is a divide for the soul of the Republican Party, and I think you watched Donald Trump's keynote address at CPAC over the weekend. He's leaning into those contrast even more aggressively and trying to attack Paul Ryan, attack Karl Rove, attack the Bush family. We saw that in 2016, of course, but now the Trump campaign bet is that the Republican Party is now fully a MAGA populist vehicle, and he can fully change the party by renomination. And he views his best lines of attack against Ron DeSantis are going to be over foreign policy, and he's going to try to attack him as wishy-washy on Ukraine while he wants to get end the war and defund essentially the military aid to Ukraine. He's going to go after DeSantis on entitlement reforms that DeSantis has supported and voted on in the past. And he's also going to, try to portray DeSantis as part of sort of the old Republican Party and the establishment Republican Party, and that's sort of the go-to trick of Trump going all the way back to 2016. But he's getting more aggressive, and you saw the rhetoric, Dwayne, at CPAC. I mean, this is a real battle, not just for these issues, but for the soul of the Republican Party.
True, except did you see what Chris Christie said on This Week about Trump's performance at CPAC that I hadn't seen anywhere else? That the room, he only had half a room at CPAC. It was only half full.
Yeah, I was at CPAC. It was the lowest attended CPAC in D.C. that I've ever been to, and I've been to most of the ones in Washington.
I don't even want to get into the reasons why. I'm just talking about Trump itself. For the Trump speech, Christie said on This Week on the panel that even for a Trump speech there, it wasn't a full house.
Yeah, so look, I think the bet, talking to both the Trump and DeSantis camps pretty extensively over the last few weeks, the bet from the Trump campaign is that they want to solidify the 30% or so of the party that is more Trump than the party. It's not a majority, but 30% is not a bad base to start with, and that's why,
right,
Dwayne, you see the polls, right,
sure,
that are out in the last couple of weeks showing Trump expanding his lead, getting about 40-45%, doing quite well in recent weeks. But there is a 70% of the party that doesn't hear what Trump is saying, and it doesn't speak to them. The question is, how do you – there are going to be other candidates other than DeSantis. The question is, who can capture the message, who can argue that they're the person who's best able to take the party forward while also criticizing the Trump message, while also going after Trump in ways that they've been uncomfortable doing so far, whether it's DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Mike Pompeo. I mean, I've been struck. I'm getting a little bit of deja vu from 2016 where you have a front runner clearly in the polls, and none of the leading challengers, none of the leading contenders are eager to say his name or draw contrasts with the former president. So if they're not going to do that, then Trump automatically.
Yeah, you see,
he has that base. He has that base.
Pompeo did some separation and told Shannon Bream over on Fox News Sunday that Trump wasn't a real conservative because anybody that adds that much money to the debt is not conservative. So you're gonna see a lot more of that this time, I think, than last time. But before we completely run out of time, I want to shift to the other side of the coin. The Democratic Party is not as healthy as the bubble media would have you believe, because the New York Times piece says that there's an SOS they basically did a draft JB Pritzker movement. Now, I'm going to ask you this quickly before we completely run out of time, which is, I need to know how part of the Beltway you are if you take a JB Pritzker candidacy seriously.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Dwayne. I think the biggest threat to Biden, first of all, number one, Biden, I've never seen a sitting president have over half of his party's voters not wanting him to run for re-election. That's a big warning sign.
We have now, haven't we?
Now we have it, volatility. I wouldn't be surprised. Look at New Hampshire. Look at New Hampshire closely. They may not have any delegates this year because the Biden and the DNC want to punish New Hampshire for being first. But there could be like a Stacey Abrams or someone who's not an elected official who could try to give Biden. We have Marianne Williamson already, but I think there could be some interesting movings and goings on.
Robert Kennedy. We're going to have the Robert Kennedy bubble.
Biden-Kennedy 2024. That is the matchup in the Democratic field. But no, I think there could be some interesting things and curveballs to come.
Josh Kraushaar, tremendous. Axios is where you get all of Josh's stuff, or read him on Twitter at Josh Kraushaar.